People deluded. Good morning and them things there, yeah. In regards to Arsenal, we know we need new centre halves, people, but I think it needs to be said. Signing and let's say focus purely on the backline defensive aspect to defending people or to the game. Ignore the attacking options and all of these sort of things, people. But I'm hearing a lot of people consistently say we need new centre halves, we need new this, we need new that. Clearly, a disclaimer for anybody, because there's always one idiot in my comments who fails to understand the message. We know we need defenders in it. I've already made vids. I feel sorry for Koscielny, for instance. I know he's a defender, but at times I don't feel he's been helped out. Obviously, he's on a natural decline. The less said about Mustafi, the best. Socrates has been all right, but collectively, everybody, including the fullbacks as well, there's been a lot of individual mistakes, including Leno as well. There's been individual mistakes leading to goal. So, although I agree clearly we need better centre-halves, I feel sorry for Unai Emery because you can't mitigate for these defensive errors in big games, in small against small teams, fair enough, but away games you need to win. You can't plan for these sort of things. But I have to say this, I do feel it's a lazy thing to just assume that, we need new centre-halves and it's all going to get better. And of course, clearly, it will dramatically improve if we had better quality centre-halves that were a bit more switched on. But I feel it's lazy because I honestly do feel you could sign Sergio Ramos and Godin in their primes and they would struggle in this Arsenal side. I say that purely because you've got to look at how we look at defending. We're not proactive. You hear me say that. There's not a proactive approach. If we ignore, I know it's difficult to ignore people and it is ultimately the biggest factor. If we ignore the silliness Mustafi and etc. come with, we need to look at how we think about defending people, how we look at the defensive aspect, the system in place in which we defend. Because if we're honest, defence starts from attack. A lot of people praise Liverpool for having a great defensive backline this season, and a lot of people praise City for all the passing and things. But they're pressing, they're aggressive, they run a lot. We're on the right track because we're running a lot. I know we've fallen off in a couple of games, but we need to consistently press from the front. We need to be proactive, and it comes down to the players in learning from mistakes, and it also comes down to the system, and to a degree, Unai Emery, because again, if I was him, I'd give up on Mustafi. You can't teach these men if they're playing people on side and failing to clear out their lines and things like that. But at the same time, we heard video analysis. The players at the start of the season, Mustafi included, said Unai Emery tells them the positions they're supposed to be in. And we're still seeing the same mistakes. Now, again, a lot of that is because these players are not good enough. But when you're seeing players not covering, not shuffling along, seeing that their centre-half is going to be in trouble and not dropping a few yards, a proactive approach, a part of that is on the manager. Because I'm sure most fans, I won't say accept these individual mistakes, and I'm not excusing individual responsibility, but I'm sure most fans, if we were still rubbish defensively, but if we were showing an improvement in terms of being proactive, closing down crosses, following runners, passing on strikers like you're seeing with Sergio Aguero, Koscielny wasn't helped at all. Nobody's tucking in, nobody's allowing him to move across. If we were doing a bit more in that aspect, I'm sure many people wouldn't forgive the defenders for their poor mistakes, but you would see that we're actively trying to improve defensively. And if we're honest with ourselves, of course we are, but we don't see it. A lot of people say we need to bring in new players, etc. Of course we need to bring in new players, but when we're playing out from the back, these wonderful set pieces and scoring goals and these counter-attacks, nobody's saying it needs time, it needs this and that. So we need to keep balance, people. Of course, Unai Emery needs time. I'm not blaming him. I'm just trying to make the point of I just don't think signing defenders, ultimately signing new, better defenders equals competing. Of course, it plays a part. Of course, you need better defenders. There's no escaping that. I'm going at the system because it doesn't matter how good defensively you are, there's a system. And even if we exclude the fact that this is, and again, I'm not blaming Unai Emery, but it's his first season. If we exclude Unai Emery, how many times, we know Wenger didn't really much care for the defensive aspect of the game, but how many times have we sat here season on season when we signed the centre-half and said we need one, we need this and that. We've been here with Mustafi, okay, he's a letdown. You see what I'm saying, people? There needs to be a system. Even if you look at Gabriel, now a lot of people are seeing Gabriel, maybe not the last couple of games, but since he's gone to Valencia, he's obviously looked the player he looked when he was in Villarreal. He showed patches at Arsenal. We know he had spells. Obviously, he turned up in the FA Cup final, if I remember correctly. He's turned up in a couple of big games. He's actually played all right at left and right back, but he's also had games against Southampton away, Liverpool away, Manchester United away, where he's just atrocious. But many people are seeing him look like the player he looked like at Villarreal and saying, why did we let him go, etc., etc. There could be many factors as to why he's improving, but if you look at it like this, you need to look at the system these people are going in. Is it Marcelino, whoever it is at Villarreal? They might have changed managers, but at the time, they had, at a time, they had one of the best statistical defenses within La Liga. So what does that tell you? That's a manager who might probably favour the defensive art of the game, who works on drills and favours the more defensive arts of the game. So there's a defensive system in place away from Gabriel. The players away from Gabriel know what to do. The players off the ball not to do. So if he's going into the defensive system like that, or a team that craves, puts a bit more importance on defending, he's obviously going to look better, people. Again, I'm not critiquing the players now in that example or in Emery, but I'm telling you, people, signing defenders will not equal just simply being better. There needs to be more greater improvement on. For me, a lot of it is off the ball, because if you look at Man United, if you look at Brighton, if you look at Manchester City, Liverpool away with Firmino, Manchester United FA Cup at home, where these are all examples I'm showing you of proactive approaches to defending. These are none of, in my opinion, these are none of Unai Emery's faults directly, because it's the players. You look at the United one. Leno made an error. Colan made an error. You look at the United one as well. That you look at United in the league and in the FA Cup. You look at the same against the same team at home. Lingard scores within 3 passes. Firmino does the same. The amount of errors in regards to the Brighton goal we conceded, the Palace ones. Again, the defenders take the majority of the blame. But when you look at a couple of other teams, you look at their defensive system, and it shows you stuff like, not to praise Spurs, but you look at Spurs. I genuinely believe, within reason, Spurs can put anyone in that defence, and there's not really much of a drop-off in quality. They can play, obviously, the 2 Belgians in Toby and Vertonghen. Davinson Sanchez can get slotted in there. Dyer could get slotted in there. They could throw Davis in at centre-half, and nothing will happen, because there's a system. And there's a couple teams, not to go into detail, that are below us in the league that could probably hold a back line and defensive aspects better than us. Now, yeah, like, I genuinely believe, of course, people, I share your, again, I have to keep saying it because there's always idiots in the comments, but again, we need defenders. There's no way around it. We need better quality defenders. We need better quality defenders. But if we sign these better quality defenders, which at a time we were saying that with Mustafi, I know it looks silly in hindsight, but nobody was saying such now. It's come to light, Mustafi's clearly not good enough. But we were sitting here and saying, if we sign Mustafi, blah, 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 he's going to take us to that next level. Clearly, we can't rely on just a player to come here and improve us defensively. It's not going to happen, people. It's not going to happen. You need a system at place. Defending, or the defensive aspect of the game, actually starts with the strikers. So there needs to be a system in place consistently. And in regards to defence, they've got to be a bit more proactive. We know this, and again, we need better defenders, but the system has to improve. And Gabriel, if you look at how people are praising Gabriel, he's not any better. He might be, but he's not any better. I can guarantee you, he's probably not any better. It's just the system caters more to his needs, not even to his individual needs. There's just a greater importance on defending. It's no coincidence that, of course, it's a bit different, but how many times have you seen attacking players not shine under a defensive manager? The minute that defensive manager leaves, the attacking players excels again. Did that player turn good or bad overnight, or is there a system and tactics at place to get the best out of them, or to protect them and things like that? So again, we need centre-halves. We probably need 2 quality centre-halves. But if we was to sign these top quality centre-halves and the same errors throughout the whole team are happening, then you would. Of course, we can, again, ultimately it stops at better players, ironically, because you can't mitigate for the amount of mistakes Mustafi and Co have made. But at the same time, if you go and look at, away from focusing on the error that they've all made, if you look at the build-up to these goals, there's probably several things that I have done. I don't talk out my house. I make videos because I have evidence. If you go and review the build-up to most of these goals, it's been a series of errors, or where we could have done better, whether that be closing a man down from the front, dropping off a couple of yards, shifting across to help someone, passing on opposition players to mark and things like that. Of course we do it. They're professional footballers, but they're not doing it of the standard, and there's no way around that. So while I believe, and of course, people, I want to see 2 centre-halves. Obviously, that would be ideal, but 1 centre-half of top quality to be thrown in with the ones I'll be looking at next season, this season and next season, to move forward with is obviously Socrates. I think he's earned that. Koscielny can be used in the squad, although I don't really rely on him like that. Mavropanos, Rob Holding, these sort of man there that you want to bring in. These are the sort of people that you'd want to be bringing in and giving them a taste. But I honestly feel you could play Socrates and this great defender that, for this example, top class defender, but they need a system or they're still going to look out of place. Defending goes beyond just simply signing better defenders. That goes a long way, clearly, because of ability, but defending is not as easy or as black and white as just signing better defenders and becoming a better defensive team. It does not work like that. Look at Klopp. yes, we can look at Van Dijk and things like that and how good he makes everybody look, but the team has a greater importance on the defensive aspect in the game. Obviously, they've had wobbles, but how many times compared to this season to last season have you seen Liverpool from the first minute playing like how they are from the first to the 90th? That's not a bad thing. Why? It's no coincidence how they're closer to the league title. They're starting to shut out games now, put a bit more emphasis on defending. Together with signing Van Dijk and obviously the keeper and patterning their fullbacks when to go forward, when to defend, they've got a nice system. So better players should only really only complement the system in place, really going into a working system, and that goes for a lot of players, and not just defenders. But that's what I feel, people. I feel we need centre halves of course, or better players, better defenders, whatever you want to say. But beyond that, you need to have a system or a better system in place. And it's Unai Emery's first season, so I'm not critiquing him and things like that. But that's what I need to see, or that's what I believe needs to be in place, because we're going to keep sitting here saying we need a centre half, we need this, we need that. There needs to be a system in place, and I honestly believe there's a lot of teams that can hold a better back line than us below the top six. Obviously, because of how the games are set up, we're expected to go out and more or less be on the forefront, or typically get to be dominant on possession, because many teams sit back against us and the other top six, we get away with it. But if you go and look at a couple of sides, they hold better back lines than us. And even a side that went and got 3 points at not Old Trafford, at the Etihad away. So yeah, I don't really think I have much more to say on that front. That's all I wanted to say, people. So I'm going to get out of your hair. On that note, though, people, deluded, comment, subscribe, and do the rest if you wish. I'm out.